Who would think that sexually abusing a child is not a crime?
Apparently, a lot of people would think that.
One town sheds light on a chronic problem.
I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one that they failed to protect.
I felt like my innocence was gone. My childhood was gone. I can't unfeel that pain either.
What was it inside you that felt safe doing this here, that felt like you had permission to hurt these children?
Teachers sexually abusing their students in public schools nationwide.
They cover up for each other.
Wall of silence. Protect the school district.
Hi there. I'm Meg Oliver with CBS News. We're trying to reach the superintendent.
A CBS Reports investigation finds a broken system that enables abusers. It's a silent crisis placing millions of children at risk.
Where's our outrage been? This is a phenomenon of child abuse that we allow to happen under our noses.
So, when you think of Redlands, what comes to mind?
Oh, God. Neighborliness.
This is a tight-knit community.
This is a tight-knit community.
Everyone knows everyone.
For the most part, that really defines, I think, the character of this town. We know one another here.
Tony Momberger is a fourth-generation resident of Redlands, California, who served on city council and edited the local newspaper.
This area I'm about to drive you through defines Redlands hugely. It's tree-lined streets, it's historic homes. This is Kingsbury School. This is where, for the first time, there was a teacher here who used to have her kids recite a poem, and that's how the Pledge of Allegiance got started. She didn't write it, but she had her class do it.
The Pledge of Allegiance was born in Redlands?
In Redlands, yeah.
And why are the schools so desirable?
Oh, the test scores. Just a great reputation for results. For college acceptance, for graduation. It's a big reason people live here.
But behind closed doors, some teachers betrayed the public trust.
It's tragic. I don't understand how that many grown people who went into a profession of service can give themselves permission to ruin people's lives.
CBS Reports has found evidence of cover-ups and systemic failures in oversight that enabled a culture of abuse to persist at public schools across America. To understand the problem, our team examined one district, Redlands. 50 students have accused more than 25 teachers of sexual misconduct between 1999 and 2022. 11 teachers have been investigated by police, and at least 9 have been arrested, including 2 just last year. We gained exclusive access to thousands of documents, hundreds of hours of deposition videos, and spoke with more than a dozen student survivors. They have only appeared anonymously in case files. None of their stories have been heard until now.
I knew at a really young age that I cared about my education. High school, everything mattered. Everything counted.
This former student attended Redlands High School in 2005 and is speaking to media for the first time. She asked us to hide her face and change her voice out of fear for her safety, and because her family still doesn't know what happened to her.
You had a substitute teacher that was pretty popular. What was his reputation?
Everyone loved him. And if he remembered you, you felt proud to have that acknowledgement and that affirmation.
You had to miss a test in the class where you had the substitute. What did he offer to have you make up the test?
He said it wouldn't be a problem and that I can come by after school was all over and just take the exam. At first, when I walked up the ramp, he was just at the desk. And then came up, he brought me my exam, and at first went back to sitting where he was. The blinds were down, and at some point he closed the door. He said he didn't want to risk any distractions for my exam. I didn't think anything of it because I knew this person and he knew me. But the next thing I knew, he was right next to me. That's when I realized what was going to happen. And when I realized there was nothing that I could do, that even if I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs, no one would hear me. because no one was there. I was only in the room to take a test. At some point, he was choking me. This man could have killed me, could have snapped my neck in 2 seconds.
What did he do to you?
He raped me. I felt my body ripping apart. Just shards of glass. I remember feeling so numb and so in pain, but I was still thinking about my test. I never finished, so I had to go back.
The next day, she returned to finish the test. She says her teacher raped her a second time. She was 14 years old.
After he finished, he started comparing me to his wife. He told me that if I ever said anything to anyone ever, he would kill me and he would kill my family. So I did it.
It wasn't until 2013 that she reported the rapes to police. The teacher was never arrested. Only 6% of students report sexual abuse by a school teacher or staff member. The other 94% stay silent. An estimated 12% of all public school students experience sexual misconduct by the time they graduate high school. That's more than 5 million American children. But experts believe the actual number is much higher.
This abuse is happening in just about any kind of district you can think of. Rural districts, urban, suburban, high income, low income, middle income. First, the teacher grooms the students and grooms the environment. And so the grooming process means get people to trust you and trust that what you say about yourself, i.e., I'm a good person, is accurate. And so people then don't suspect.
How old were you when you met the English teacher, Laura Whitehurst?
I want to say 14 or 15. It was my freshman year, the year of 2007.
She invited you to her apartment?
Yeah, she did.
And then what happened?
She made an advance on me. I just remember it led from the kissing to her being naked. And I remember her starting to undress me. And at that point, I said, I don't know if I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And she said something along the lines of, just sit back, try to enjoy it. We had sex in a few locations. The first one was her apartment. From there, it advanced to her classroom. I do remember her telling me, do not tell no one about tonight, please. So that's what I did. I think that's when it first started to be instilled in me to kind of help cover up for her.
Did the administration ever question Ms. Whitehurst?
But I do know she was questioned. How do I know this? Because she asked me if I was questioned. I told her they did pull me in. She asked me, did I say anything? I told her no. She said, good. Continue to say nothing happened.
The least reliable source of information about whether something's happening are two people, the abuser and the target. Ignore them. You can't believe a thing they say. School employees are accountable. They have a responsibility to protect students. They have a responsibility to look at a red flag, to look at a boundary crossing of a colleague and report. That's their job.
School officials are legally required to notify law enforcement or social services as soon as they reasonably suspect any potential sexual abuse. Failing to report is a crime, but nationwide, those laws are rarely followed.
Teachers don't want to say bad things about other teachers. A wall of silence. Protect the school district.
Parents are in disbelief over accusations that a teacher here just gave birth to a child allegedly fathered by one of her own students.
After Vicente, Whitehurst sexually abused 3 more of her students. It all stayed secret until she had a baby with a 4th boy.
It was big news. We reported it on the front page. And immediately I was inundated with calls and emails from people who worked for the school district with outrage that we were covering it.
That you were covering it?
Yes.
Oh my God. I read the paper, the Redlands Daily Facts, And when I found out about Laura Whitehurst, I was in shock. It rippled through the community because the reputation of Redlands School District was on the line. I met with members of the school board, and I said, this thing went on quite a while. The district office had to know something about what was going on.
Police records show that people in the school were concerned about Whitehurst. Several teachers previously notified higher-ups of her inappropriate behavior with students.
We put up this idea that we have to know for sure. That's just not the standard. If there's a reasonable suspicion that it might be true, report. It doesn't say you have to know at all.
On July 1st, 2013, school administrators reported Whitehurst to the county social services and police when the student's mother told the district Whitehurst had given birth to her son's child. Social services did not investigate. Police did.
Two great detectives start uncovering stuff, and they start figuring out that this wasn't an isolated thing. It wasn't hidden. It was well known and well suspected. And the police are like, we need to look into all of this. And they get stonewalled repeatedly by people from the district. And they'll contact a witness, and the witness will say, I've been told not to talk to you, by the attorneys for the district.
But one particular incident aroused suspicion.
They show up unannounced to the district office, and they hand Sabine Robertson Phillips a search warrant.
Sabine Robertson Phillips has been in charge of human resources at Redlands schools since 2007.
It says here, S. Robertson Phillips refused to provide the documents requested and went to her computer in her office. That's true, as you just testified, correct?
Yes.
Suspect Robertson Phillips began closing documents on her computer. You saw that, right?
Yes.
And deleting portions of the documents. You saw her doing that, right?
That's correct. I do recall that she was highlighting portions and trying to delete those.
He finds Sabine Robertson Phillips at her desk, and it looks like she's been deleting things. And so he pushes the recover button, and it's information related to Whitehurst, according to his own testimony.
All right, so the officers say that you were deleting things from your computer. Do you dispute that?
Absolutely.
So it's not true that you didn't have the original handwritten notes any longer, right? They weren't destroyed.
I never deleted anything.
No charges were recommended or brought against Dr. Robertson Phillips with her handling of documents. But Redlands police did recommend charges against the school district for failing to report reasonable suspicion of sexual misconduct. But the district attorney declined to prosecute, saying there was insufficient evidence. 4 years later, Redlands got a new superintendent, updated its safety protocols, and made reforms.
You started at Redlands Unified in 2018 after reforms were put in place to deal with the sexual abuse scandal. Were you trained right away?
Technically, yes. They brought in an outside consulting firm to talk about prevention of grooming and sexual abuse of students. It lasted 30, maybe 45 minutes, and afterward, there was a lot of grumbling among the staff and teachers that I was really taken aback by.
What were they saying?
Things like, it seems like they want me to rat out my colleagues and I would never do that. The district doesn't trust us. This is out of proportion, things of that nature. There was a lot of sense that the teachers needed to have each other's back, no matter what students said.
A 2021 civil grand jury investigation found the district had yet to learn its lesson, saying with the lack of accountability and poor investigative practices, the district could no longer deny they need reform. The school district firmly disagreed with most of the grand jury's conclusions, and when former students sued them for negligence, the district declared that the child victims were at fault for having been abused.
They filed papers saying the victims consented or assumed the risk of sexual abuse by going to school. They argued that. They're telling 13 and 14-year-old kids they're contributory negligent.
I find that statement shocking and tragic and just sad. It's not the student's job to set the boundaries. We're supposed to be teaching them the boundaries. These are kids. It's our job to teach them about the world and how to be safe. It's not their job to try to figure out how to be safe. There's no consent in schools. Teachers are the boss. Students have to do what the teachers say. There's no equality. There's the teacher and the student, and it's a hierarchy.
When schools hear allegations of teacher sexual abuse, they often try to make them go away quietly without any record. On average, one offender passes through 3 different school districts before they're stopped and can abuse as many as 73 children in their lifetimes.
Called passing the trash.
Passing the trash. And when they move on, would they write them recommendation letters?
Yeah, they'd give them recommendations, they'd give them approvals. You've got this culture that just allows it to happen and happen again and again.
And the school administration thinks, maybe it's just as easy to move this person to another school or to move this person to another district. So the person resigns and moves to another school district and starts up all over again.
When you were a sophomore, who was your theater teacher?
Joel Kuntz.
Joel Kuntz was hired by Redlands High School in 2016 after he was fired from a Texas summer camp. He told students it was because he had sex with a girl who was underage, but his record was clean. Within a year, a school janitor called the police, reporting Kuntz for suspicions of sexual abuse at Redlands High. The school quietly put him on leave and let his contract expire.
So fast forward into 2018, how did you come into contact with Joel Kuntz again?
It was through one of my close friends who told us to come to his house, and he gave us a lot of alcohol. We sat down on the bed, and he just started kissing us, and one thing led to another. We started having sex. My friend was really drunk. She was on the floor. She was throwing up, couldn't keep herself up, couldn't get herself dressed. I was probably just as drunk.
This was 2018. Joel Kuntz was arrested. And after, he went on to be a substitute teacher in a nearby district.
It just shows that it could have been prevented, and it wasn't.
It's just sweeping it under the rug. It's going to pop up somewhere else.
For the past month, our team has made multiple attempts to try and reach the administration at Redlands Unified School District to give them an opportunity to participate in the story. We've only received an email saying no comment, that most of the abuse happened before 2016. So while we're in town, we just want to give them one more opportunity to comment. So we're going to go inside. Hi there. I'm Meg Oliver with CBS News. Yeah, both our cameras are on. We're trying to reach the superintendent or Sabine Robertson Phillips.
Nobody seems to want to turn around. Everyone seems to be walking away.
Hi, I'm Meg Oliver with CBS News.
Christine Stevens, if you don't mind going out.
Oh, yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, come on out. Thank you so much for coming out. Is there anyone from the administration that would come out and talk to us?
At this moment, we're not doing any in-person camera interviews.
Is there anything that the administration wants to say to the victims?
On the statements, we did address that in the questions there, but we'll also reiterate in the questions that I'll send later today.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right.
After we left Redlands, the school district sent us a statement that reads in part that the administration has taken swift and appropriate actions when there's been a violation of law or board policy. We continue to focus on establishing and maintaining proper boundaries between adults and students by reviewing and implementing our mandated systems, procedures, and policies. Redlands schools appear to be among the worst, but they are not alone. In California, hundreds of teachers were caught sexually abusing their students in recent years, according to data obtained through a Public Records Act request. But most teachers who admit to sexually abusing students never face any consequences.
What message are we sending to our children by letting teachers abuse them and get away with it?
I think we're saying that nobody's looking out for me at school. Nobody's going to protect me. There's nobody there for me. And we're also teaching kids that, well, if I grow up, this is something I could do.
Our team reached out to every government agency we could find that had the potential oversight related to teacher sexual abuse at the city, county, and state levels. We also reached out to the district attorney's office, the Departments of Education and Justice, and the California Attorney General's office. Turns out no one has been tracking this. And when it comes to accountability, they all seem to point the finger at a different agency. So we came here to Washington, D.C. to see what the federal government is doing.
I'm the chief civil rights enforcer in the nation's schools. The school district has an obligation to make sure that there is no child who is subject to sex discrimination. The buck stops there for them. It is my job to make sure that if they fail, that they come into corrective action or they lose their federal funds.
The Federal Department of Education is currently investigating 145 public school districts across the country for allegations of sexual violence, including Redlands Unified.
This is a phenomenon of child abuse that we allow to happen under our noses.
How is that possible?
We have insufficient collective will as a country to stop it, something that we've known conclusively for decades.
Students are required to go every single day.
Yes, it is.
They're not sure if it's going to be safe.
Well, you're sure it's not safe?
The Department of Education told CBS Reports that it is laying the groundwork to start tracking teacher sexual abuse in public schools nationwide for the first time.
Are you confident change is coming?
I'm confident change is coming, and I will always want more.
This is something that I've been living with for almost 2 decades. The wounds don't heal by being passive and letting time go on. The wounds heal by taking action.
I definitely don't want to live the rest of my life worrying about a teacher and my children, or even any children at that. No children should have to experience that at all.
We have a lot of reason to be ashamed. I want to sit down so badly with the people who have been convicted and say, why? And I want to talk to the teachers who suspected or knew.
That might not have said anything.
And say, what? What were you what was it that made you feel like you couldn't speak out?
I don't know what the system is that caused it. I only know that the information lies within the people who did it and the people who were complicit.